Crystalline podcast. Crystalline podcast.
Conversations to inspire.
Hello and welcome to the Crystalline podcast. Inspirational conversations with extraordinary folk. In this week's episode, we are sitting down with co-founder of the Crystalline method, Joe Cheatle. Enjoy.
Hey, welcome to our first ever podcast. So today we are going to talk about everything crystalline, the creation, and kind of hearing it from your point of view for today, Joe.
Okay.
Yeah, how are you doing today?
Fantastic, yeah. Can't complain. Sunny.
Sunny, nice. Out here in Thailand.
Well, it should be expected.
Yeah. So should we just dive straight into it?
Let's go.
Let's go. So I guess let's just start with what is the crystalline method?
The Crystalline method is a program that we put together that helps people essentially become the most potent form of themselves by working through foundational information as a foundation, and then depending on where they're at, they have different challenges to overcome. So it's a sort of integrated, multifunctional, holistic system, essentially.
So yeah, I know lots of people have these, I guess, holistic programs or holistic modalities, which we've been looking into. And I feel like holistic to us is a very broad range of things that it can include. So I just want to speak to that, of kind of what holistic means to you or what it means to the crystalline.
Yeah. I mean, I just see it get thrown around all the time. And it's just, I think, used incorrectly, or their understanding of what holistic is just very limited. Like, if you do yoga and maybe do the occasional green juice cleanse, that's not holistic. That's like two things, and that's good. I'm glad you're doing them, not being like a complete asshole, but the whole picture, the holistic picture of how a human works is a little bit more in depth than just yoga and green juice, I would say. So yeah, that's why we got the 8-key system. I sort of made sense to distill it down to these kind of points as a fundamental, and it goes into a lot more detail from there. But I think when you balance those on a daily basis, you're looking good.
And the 8 keys, they're kind of the essence, aren't they, of what we offer for where the person is at, for them to then develop through these 8 keys?
That's it. I mean, it's kind of like 12 weeks that we do it in a block of is if you're doing everything correctly, 12 weeks, I think, is the shortest amount of time you can see substantial gains if you're committing to it. Realistically, depending on where people are at, they've neglected themselves for decades, it's going to take a little bit longer to come back. But I think that's why we start with the things that move the needle the most first, and then start looking at the more nuanced things. I'm really proud of it, actually.
Yeah, same.
When I look at
I think it's great. I do say so myself.
Yeah, when I look at other people's things, I'm like, actually, this is pretty competent. It's over a long period of time that it's been in development.
Yeah, definitely. Well, when did it all kind of start for you? I know you've been on this journey for a long time of health, healing, kind of looking into many different modalities of ways of being the most healthiest version of yourself. Do you want to go into that in a bit more detail of kind of your journey?
Yeah, I mean, it sort of started for me when I was living in China. That's when my eyes really opened to more than just the sort of bog standard program I was kind of in.
That's quite a while ago, wasn't it? It was in China.
Yeah, that would have been 15 years ago.
Yeah.
And upon returning from there, we'll save that story for another time. But yes, upon returning from there, I had this burning desire in my mind to essentially build. At first, it was just I want to build a martial arts school, and then as I learned more, went and did like permaculture experiences abroad and other things like this, the sort of dream fleshed out and got more detailed. But I bought my first ever book on sort of alternative health, I guess you could call it, when I'd just come back before I turned 18 from a guy called Michael Paul Patterson, who was a YouTuber, and I thought his stuff was rather interesting. And then I bought his book. It was his website was called Timeless Health, and he had a PDF on there. And I purchased it and printed it all off and put it in a ring binder, and it had some fantastic information that even today I don't see many people talking about. And loads of like really useful stuff. Like the guy clearly like looked into a lot of different things, and I guess the whole you want the next thing, the next thing, the next thing, and then I hadn't looked. I studied that book extensively, and then years later, before we came here, I looked at it again, and I was like, man, this book's awesome. So I tried going finding him again on YouTube, and all his videos have been, his YouTube account had basically been stripped down to the bare bones. He hasn't posted anything in years. So I don't know what's happened there. His website doesn't exist anymore. He's just there's no contact email.
Maybe he's onto something, taking him down.
I don't know. I mean, I'm no conspiracy theorist, but who knows what's happened to him? But yeah, if he ever hears this, I'd love to get in contact with him.
Yeah.
Chat to him for a bit, because he's a big part. And even someone I'm helping with, or trying my best to help at the moment. They mentioned that book I showed them years ago, and they were like, "Oh, that book was a game changer." They said still to this day, I don't remember that particular piece of information being in there, but they said still to this day they don't eat 2 hours before bedtime from reading it in that book.
It's amazing how those just little key bits of information stay with you. The ones that really like hit home and probably change things the most.
Move that needle.
Move the needle, yeah.
Yeah, I like that.
So that's kind of where your journey begun on this path.
Yes, that's where it started, I guess. And then I think as a sort of mildly disgruntled teenager who had a bit of a wake-up call when witnessing a conversation between an Italian man who wanted to go live in the woods without electricity and an ex-US Marine who realised he'd been scammed into going into Iraq to like kill people, basically. And watching them have a conversation about the state of the world and stuff, as a 17-year-old, I was just like, oh.
Shocked face for anyone.
Yeah, I was blissfully unaware of all those things. I mean, at that point in time, I just wanted to, meet a girl, do a kickflip, listen to some hip hop, do some kung fu. That's pretty much the extent of my desires at the time.
I think the world has flipped upside down.
Yeah, a little bit. Then upon returning, like I said, I just sort of went, I just had to know the truth to loads of things. And that took me down some seriously random rabbit holes. But the one thing that maintained the whole way through until now has always had a very burning desire to know what is actually healthy for the human body. Because it is a minefield out there. You've got everyone saying the polar opposite on every sort of sub topic in it. And I've wasted so much time being led down the wrong path that I've wanted to know these things. It's like I've got to try it. So I'd try that, try this, try that, and then I had many failures, and then it wasn't until I'm skipping loads of years now, but it wasn't until my cousin there, Sean, he put me onto a gentleman named Paul Check, who, when I looked at his stuff, I thought, yeah, this guy's pretty on it. But then at the time, I was still in this mode of just like always seeking new information. I must get the next thing, must get the next thing. And then like going off and about, still after discovering him, I read his book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, and was still searching for other things. And then it got to a point where I was like, actually, out of all the people I've come across in all the years of looking into health, this guy really is more on the money than anyone else. Like everyone can improve on some sub niche thing, surely. Like there are people that focus on really niche things, which is cool. But as a for me, what the true definition of a holistic outlook is, approach to health, that guy's just the don, basically.
Mm.
So I was like, gonna learn what he knows and see what happens, basically.
Share that with the world.
Yeah, help as many people as possible.
So I know you said then that there's so much information, misinformation in the world right now. And I know you said earlier about coming back to the basics. Do you think that is kind of the key to longevity and to coming back to kind of, what we would maybe call true health? It's going back to the basics, kind of maybe shutting out all this noise and really listen internally.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say, really. I think the trouble for a lot of people, I get asked a lot of questions, and to me they seem kind of obvious, but it's, without sounding too rude or big-headed or something, but I think essentially there's all these fads and like supplement X and supplement Y and this specific thing, but really, like you say, if you do the basics and it's consistency, eventually a lot of the junk will leave your body. It's like you've got to clean the physical meat suit as well as working on the guy driving it, right? So if you go full balls to the wall spirituality, but you're still eating like dire food and not doing any press ups or anything, like fair enough, you might be able to sit in a cave and like enlightenment. But for most people, well, then the opposite of that would be someone who just does bare gym, but doesn't do any internal reflection. That's going to get you a different path. But I think when you take a step towards both, as you clean out the system, as you tap into who you really are, your body will literally tell you what's good and what's not good for you. Your intuition will come back alive. It's like you have these senses. They're just not used, they're not trained there. It's like having an antenna that's covered in goop. Clean the antenna, you start getting a better picture.
Yeah. So where would you start then?
Where would I start?
Where would you start? If you're starting from scratch, we've obviously got the 8-key system, haven't we, that we like to implement. Do you want to speak to the 8-key system, or just like maybe where you'd start if you're starting on this journey?
So where anyone starts, like I said, we've laid out the 8-key system in a specific way because I think although everything in it is kind of like has to be a bit of a balancing act, I think I put them in the most chronologically sound way for me that makes sense. So the center of it is represented by like a thumbprint, like a blueprint. That's you and your individual uniqueness. Only you really are going to know who you are. I can sort of show you some different tools that people have used through the ages to find these things, but really ultimately that's a lifelong quest for yourself.
Yes.
So again, that's all up to you. The second thing, arguably the most important, is your goal / vision / dream. Without knowing where you want to go, any road will take you anywhere. So we can't work with someone to achieve what they want if they don't have what they want in mind.
Yeah.
Like you need to know which direction you're going. So what are your goals? What's your long-term goals? We can break those down into shorter, more achievable things. So once you've got that in mind, so you're there, you're going in the direction. Ideally moral and life affirmative, they always work best because the universe will support that. The first thing we look at is breath. And I think anyone listening to this could at least implement breath breathing mechanics, like not mouth breathing,
Yeah.
breathing through your nose, and maybe incorporate a little bit of breath work in the morning or in the evening, just to try and actually increase their lung capacity, which is very feasible. It will change the shape of your head, and lung efficiency is directly related to longevity. It's if I put someone against their will in a concrete box and you're subjected to whatever food and water someone's trying to administer you to, and they've got your hands tied, you can't move, the only thing you really have control over is your breathing. It's the last thing, first thing, most important thing. All these seriously powerful spiritual people, all with the breath. Breath is the key to it all, basically. And our modern lifestyles, it's a bit of a closed loop system with the acidic forming foods, so your processed junk, making people want to mouth breathe. And then mouth breathing then leads to people wanting to crave more. So it's a bit of a
Bit of a loop and a cycle
loop.
there.
Yeah. So we've got a chronic issue. So that's my sort of main. I mean, I'm a projector in the human design thing, and an aspect of that which took me a long time to realize that was a part of myself, but I always intrinsically knew that's how I like learning things, because I just go balls deep into a subject and just be fixated on that and just have to know every single thing about it. And then when I feel like content to whatever that level is, I'd go on to the next thing. And currently, I am very fascinated with breath, which I have been before and probably will again, but no doubt in a week or so, I'll probably be fixated on something else. But it's just the way I learn best.
But it's something everyone can implement without having to pay anything. It's
That's
something
it.
that we do every day, what keeps us alive. So to fix that one thing, I'm sure would have profound effects.
It's got no side effects from it's got no side effects from increasing your health, from increasing your breath. Sorry, and yeah, like you say, it's free, and you can do it anywhere, anytime. 10 minutes a day, you'll start noticing big effects. But mouth tape has been a huge benefactor. I get this one because some people complain. Some people complain about the type of. I brought this one with me. Some people complain about the type of mouth tape coming off in the middle of the night, whereas I find this Tiger Blast one, you can cut it to any kind of length. For those who are just listening, it's like a long roll of waterproof tape that you cut down to any size.
Yeah.
Because I've got friends that have said to me, "Oh, but I've got a beard. It doesn't work. It comes off." And all the other ones I tried didn't work, but that particular one, that ain't coming off, that one. And that's one of the easiest things to do. Anyone could do. Is just if you know that you snore, or you have like sleep apnea, or you have a really excessively smelly, dry mouth when you wake up, chances are you're probably mouth breathing. So just doing that, having 8 hours interrupted of breathing through your nose, that does wonders. You wake up feeling better than ever.
Yeah. So that's one thing the listeners could implement right away, isn't it? Go get some mouth tape. And
I think everyone should try it,
Yeah.
unless they're like, got awesome breathing already and they're fine and dandy, then happy days. But yeah, most people could benefit from it. I think if you've got like a seriously obstructed nasal passage and really high mouth arch, maybe it might be bad, but I don't know. Always consult your doctor before taking on any health advice from people on the internet. Just break that out there.
yeah, so looked at breath.
Hmm.
I know what's the next key. So
It is the mighty water.
Mm.
And yeah, my sticking point is always, you're 75% water by volume, 99.5% molecularly made of water. So you're basically a standing body of water. Without going into all the crazy, mad things that make water so awesome.
Save that for another podcast.
Save that, yeah. We'll do a deep dive on water, no pun intended. But I think the fact that you're basically water should mean it should be your number one priority to just get clean water. I can't see how that's so difficult. It seems like a far out there statement. Like, you're made of water. You, if you want to be clean, drink clean water.
Mm,
What do you wash your dishes in?
yeah.
What do you do your laundry in? What do you wash your car with? Clean water. You don't like have Pepsi Cola, clean your dishes.
And by that we mean filtered, structured.
Yeah, just clean. If you have access to proper spring water,
Springs,
I mean
yeah.
out of the ground spring water, not like a plastic bottle telling you it's spring water, but like actual spring water that you've got from a spring, where you know where it's from, that it's actually from a artesian well, for example,
Mm,
or if you're in a city and you've got to do it yourself, stuff like distillers, reverse osmosis, gravity filters are all fantastic options. But then you want to remineralize them because they obviously strip a lot and then restructuring it.
mm,
And there are various ways to do that. I personally like the analema ones, as I've mentioned many times. Yeah, it's a fun little thing. You can get inline vortexing things as well for your whole house systems. So there's a few options, definitely.
mm,
And it warrants a bit of learning.
yeah.
You know, I can point you in the right direction. That's the thing with these keys, is the way I see it in my mind is you're the person holding the key ring. The key ring, the actual loop all the keys are on, is your goal. And the 8 keys that are attached to it are merely keys to the doors that I can show you.
Mm,
That you're the one who's going to have to go through there and do it.
of course, yeah. Same with all healing
Exactly.
modalities, and we can guide the path and show the path, but
I can
you
speed up.
have to decide to walk
That's
down there
it.
and open that door, like you say.
Yeah, 100%.
Essentially, all these keys will bring you closer to your goal,
Mm.
right? Because you'll be feeling,
It'll just save you time. Like I said at the beginning, I wasted so much time getting drawn off in random directions to different things that essentially aren't conducive
mm,
or don't move the needle as much. Whereas these things move it as much as
yeah.
possible. So,
And like to the listener, they might seem really basic, like just breath and water. So if that's all we've talked about, but they're the essentials of life.
yeah, I mean,
Should we say?
you'd be
It's like,
surprised how many people,
yeah,
if they just did those 2
mm,
things, if they had a goal, knew who they were,
yeah,
breath, breathe properly. I didn't say breath then. Breathe properly and drank adequate water.
yeah. That a lot would shift just from those 2 keys, I
Yeah.
would say.
So I mean, for the Americans out there, they drink half their body weight in water, and that will give you ounces of water you should drink a day.
Yeah.
And for English folk, it'd be your body weight in kilograms times by 0.033 will give you the amount of liters.
Mm,
It's roughly 2 to 3, depending on how big you are,
yeah,
and then obviously geographical location and how much exercise you do. Da 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 da.
yeah,
But as a go-to, that's a pretty good start point. And as Paul Checkboy says, the solution to pollution is dilution. I do love that.
yeah. So yeah, next key. Should we go on to the next one?
Yeah, sure. The third one would be
Mhm.
yeah, it's food. And the thing with food is there's a lot of diets, fads out there, but it's more than that. You see, it's more about your genetic imprint on the world
Mm,
and how close your ancestors have historically lived on the equator, or as close to the equator or close to the polar region, and that will determine how much fat and meat you would have in your diet historically. It's obviously other factors as well, but without going too much detail into all that, it's essentially about eating clean, whole foods that are unprocessed, that don't have chemicals on them, that are as close to natural things that existed in nature for the longest period of time.
it's just so needed. I think it's wild, isn't it, if we look at all the food in the supermarkets now
Mm.
and how far it is from anything natural.
Yeah, exactly.
And I guess people are almost normalizing it, that it's just either the easy option or it's just what everyone is eating now. It's what's on the shelf, and they just just part of everyone's life, isn't it? Or the majority of people. So and I guess that's a hard change, would you say, for some people?
It's because like I said, I think food was probably my main starting point out of all of these back in the day. That is the thing I've probably invested the most time into, looking at, playing around with, learning about. That's where I've invested the most amount. Well, one of the biggest ones, the keys, I would say. But I think a friend of mine asked me the other day, he was like, "Oh, what do you think of this app?" And I'd never heard of it, but I had a look at it, and essentially what it does, you scan a barcode with it, and it would tell you if the ingredients are good or not. And I thought, oh, okay, that's kind of handy if you're in a pinch, you live in the city, you maybe don't know so much about what is good and bad. But I think my main point would be the foods that you should be buying shouldn't have ingredients, really. Or at least very few that you should know what they all are. So, yeah.
Definitely be able to pronounce them.
That's always a starting point.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot to be... and the main thing is, all these people that harp on about, veganism and global climate change, and they want to get on their high horse about environmental issues, fine. What percentage of your diet is chemical free? Your money, if you can't tell me that all your food, pretty much, to the best of your ability, has been grown by people that aren't using chemicals, like, you are essentially the problem. Like, no offense, these people wouldn't be doing it if they didn't have money. The only way we can stop this machine from polluting the food supply is we've got to stop buying it. Support people that are life affirmative, that are growing food that isn't killing everything downstream, isn't killing us. So that would be my main takeaway. And I think the problem with organic that puts a lot of people off is, the intentions are right, but it's also been manipulated. So you've got people like Snickers and Coca-Cola own their own organic licensing bodies. So when you see these studies where it's like, oh, organic food is just as nutritious as conventional food, it's because the food used in it was certified by these people that don't have our health as their primary interest.
Very misleading.
Yeah, so I think if you really, you need to actually do some research on like what local farms are near you, ideally, that are doing good things, because people are like, oh, I can't find it. It's like, you'd be surprised. You spend a couple hours looking around, making a few phone calls. There are organic networks, people doing regenerative farming, grass-fed, pasture-raised meats, get delivered to your door. It's not that complicated, really. If you put the effort in, and the main thing I always say as well is there was that study, which was always very poignant in my head. So they took some cows, two groups of cows, same type of cow. One group, they fed them just the straw, so like the non-nutritious part of the hay, and the other cows, they fasted them on water. The ones that were not consuming any solid material lived longer than the ones feeding off the nutrient deficient straw.
Yeah.
Because the straw is so nutrient deficient, the nutritious part's the head of the hay. So when they're eating the straw, it's got no nutrition. It leaches all these parts from their body to try and process it to make it into an actual food. So it starved them nutrient deficiency a lot quicker than the cows they just fasted.
Yeah.
And that is essentially what's happening. So people are like, oh, organic food's expensive. And it's like, well, it's not actually, because you're buying X amount of this food that's less nutrient dense, and visibly on your plate it takes up the same amount of space. But what you're getting in it in terms of actual energy that's going to sustain you is a lot less. So it's probably better to eat less food that's more nutrient dense, less toxic, than it is to spend slightly less money and have like what would be perceived as more food that isn't actually going to fill you up.
Yeah, definitely.
So Because, you know, you eat a small, like a good example, you eat a small bowl of raw liver and you eat that small, same in weight of, I don't know, Rice Krispies or something, you will feel way more satiated
Oh, 100%.
with the raw liver, like, for example.
Yeah. Yeah, powerful, isn't it?
Yeah, so
We
sort
are
of
what we consume.
helping people know what foods might work best for them as a starting point. But again, this is the thing with food, is there are as many different diets as there are different people, and people get all these different fads. You need to learn how to work your body. Your body will tell you if you listen to it. Toilet bowl is a great place to learn. It will tell you every day what's working, what's not. When you know how to like look at your own stools,
Mm.
it's not the most pleasant thing for some people, but everyone does it, and it's all there. It tells you if you need to eat a little bit less fat, a bit more carbohydrates. It's all there.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So yeah, learning how to first of all know what real food is. That's where you got to start.
Yeah.
So you can help people with that, give them some genetic indication, but then after that, it's you got to learn it, and that's why food logging is super important. If you write down every single thing you eat, and you do this for 10 days, a month, a year, and you write down every single thing you eat, what kind of food it was, the oils in it, ingredients in it, and then alongside that, you put down any changes. So if you had a headache that day, what time did you have a headache? You plot that after a year, you'll have so much data, and then after that, you'll be like, huh, I had a migraine 2 hours after every time I eat pork. Turns out you're allergic to pork. Some people are. Some people are allergic to all sorts. So knowing what your body wants is a thing that you have to do.
That's a really good idea, actually.
Mm.
Yeah, I like it. So key.
Key number
we've got
4.
It's 4, yeah.
So once you're breathing right and you're drinking right and you're eating right and you're basically at this point you're alive. You know, you are staying alive. You're not going to be wilting away.
Yeah.
I think the first thing is working in, building up the energy reserves.
Mm-hmm.
So these are kind of like your qigong, your tai chi, different exercises at a slow energy building pace. The whole idea about working in, one of the aspects from the sort of exercise point of view would be that they cultivate more energy than you expend.
Mm.
So that's one aspect of it. The other aspect of it would be like the somatic work and meditation, these kinds of things,
Yeah,
which I think are very important.
very important. We'll speak more of that, I guess, when you podcast me.
Yeah, okay, that's true. That's
And
true.
we'll go into like the inner realm and
That's your
what
expertise.
we'll explore there. But that's
Mhm.
very important, isn't it, to uncover maybe these hidden blocks or patterns even that keep you stuck in the same loops.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is interesting, maybe if you are addicted to certain foods, maybe let's look at if there's something internally that is
Mm.
maybe of the comfort eating. I know lots of people that comfort eat and are addicted to sugar for internal reasons, I guess you could say.
Yeah, I'm excited to hear you going on all that. I've got a few questions prepared.
Amazing. So then what are we on 5?
Key 5 would then be working out.
Working out.
So yeah, that is super important these days with everyone having sedentary lifestyles. So finding out what kind of movement patterns are going to work best for you. There are like Paul Chek calls them the 6 primal movement patterns, and a lot of people only work in the sagittal plane in the gym. But essentially, like twisting is super neglected, and I think that is very important. A lot of people train like it's Mr. Olympia, which is fine. Like you get into the gym, but really, it's making you into a bit of a like 80s action figure kind of build. Like you're just sort of like Mr. Bleep Bleep Blur Bleep Bleep Blur Blur. But like really, you should be able to move in all directions and not like snap when expected to do so on demand in the real world.
Yeah, because when you only do one or a few movements in the gym, like lifting weights, and your fascia becomes the shape of those movements instead of like the twists and the moving more like 3-dimensionally, which opens your fascia up.
Yeah, the fascia is where the power is, basically. That's where, if you can make your fascia strong, then
Yeah.
the chain all the way from your foot all the way to your tongue, for example.
Hmm.
Like, how mad is that? You've got the fascia goes all the way from your toes
All the way up.
into your tongue.
Yeah. Wild.
It's crazy. And then, so after you're moving a bit better,
Yeah.
the next one is a bit of an unfortunate one, but it's just the way I think in times gone by, it would have been there, but it probably wouldn't have been its own key. It would have been incorporated into like food.
Yeah.
But now toxicity is just such a big thing. We are bombarded with random bullshit chemicals that have only existed for a handful of years that really no one knows what the fuck is gonna happen to people.
Yeah.
Stuff and I mean, if I could just make people more aware of fluoride, glyphosate, aluminium in the brain, and EMFs, I think everyone would be a lot better off
Yeah.
as a starting point. Just if you remove those 4 things from your life as much as possible, you'll be doing a lot better. But obviously, there's hundreds of them. So now having a sophisticated detox program is important. But I think I need to stress this. It's where I've messed up so many times. It's been like, oh yeah, just smash it out, do a cleanse, detox, just like focus on some like hardcore yang sort of mindset to try and smash it out, and then not really having the full picture understood. So if you're breathing right, you're drinking right, you're eating right, after you do that for an extended period of time, you'll have enough vitality and you can start cleansing the colon of all the mucoid plaque that's built up from years and years of seed oils and all the crap. Once that starts being cleaned out, then you can start looking at cleaning your organs, getting rid of the fungus and the parasites, the metals, and then doing a bit more of if you're really committed to it, it's going to take a while. I mean, you could get some benefit from doing like a week-long fast or doing a 3-day juice cleanse. I think there is some merit. They do stuff, but I think if you've lived a normal Western lifestyle exposed to all this random bullshit for 30 plus years or whatever, it is going to take some concentrated, consistent effort to really clean the body. And before buying any supplements or any programs, if you're not drinking the right amount of water, of good quality water every day, you're just wasting your money, because that's going to start it off. And I've seen people saying, how we're not meant to drink water and stuff, because some basic studies that were saying how it was bad based on the fact they were using tap water, essentially like bulk water, chaos water. It's like they water out of the tap that is unstructured, that is completely not coherent, and properly crystalline structured water are 2 completely different things. It's like saying alcohol. That's a stupid example, but they're not the same thing.
Yeah.
They're not the same thing at all.
And would you say, so once you've got this process going and you're kind of dedicated to this life of being clean and everything, would you then maybe recommend just a small cleanse every now and again to kind of stay on top of it because of this toxic world that we're essentially living in now?
Well, after you've sort of gone through a long
Yeah, so we're going through the long one.
You've
We're
done that.
dedicated to this path. We're eating clean. We've got our clean water. Would you then?
I would say like you could either do it depends what kind of climate you're in, but like twice a year is always a pretty decent starting point. You could pick like a different organ or a different system. Hit the big ones, like you start doing your colon and your liver. These are good places to start. Your liver needs looking after. It's processing a lot more random nonsense than it ever had to before. So, losing your liver, fatal.
Yeah.
Absolutely fatal.
Cleanse those organs.
Yeah, so I mean, twice a year or with the seasons. I mean, I know when I was in England, I did a cleanse in the middle of winter, like as it was starting to get even colder. I was like, oh, I need to do this because I was living in a moldy house. Long story, but I went and saw an acupuncturist, and she's like, "What the hell are you doing?" you need to be building up your reserves in this kind of time. So that kind of makes sense. So you look at like traditional people, they would have done it in like spring, autumn.
Yeah.
These are good times to do it. But yeah, if you live more on the equator and it's sunny all year round, then I don't see.
Just listen to your body and tune in.
Yeah, exactly. Again, yeah, the cleaner you get, the more obvious things become.
Definitely.
Hmm.
Here, I forgot what number we're on now.
Number 7.
7, yeah?
Yes, then it's relations. So, we're social creatures at the end of the day. And I know I've definitely been, it's one of the things for me that I've definitely fell victim to is I've always just tried to help as many people as possible with things that essentially don't sort of work out, and I've been screwed over and stuff.
Yeah.
So as I've gotten older, it's like learning how to put my boundaries up, this kind of thing.
Yeah. This kind of naturally happens on this path, doesn't it? When you're looking after yourself and you kind of go on this path of self-discovery, that you realize where you need to implement maybe more boundaries or preserve your energy, or when you can give a bit more energy.
Yeah. And then, like we were talking about it last night, is another kind of aspect of it, of the relation key, would be sort of like, you hear these people say stuff like, I'll probably butcher it, but they're like, when you think you know everything, or you think you've become spiritually adept or something, go spend a week with your family.
Yeah. They'll always test you.
Yeah. So I think stuff like that, and the one thing I would love to stress really is it saddens me to see what's happened to our culture as I can only speak from England point of view, but it wasn't that long ago when we'd have a large house that are all now flattened up, individual flats, but you'd have this large house, you'd have the parents, the grandparents, the kids, all in one house, and they'd all work together, and the grandparents were a source of wisdom, and they were helping, and we were looking after them, and now we just feed them shit, stuff them in a home.
Yeah, it's sad, isn't it?
See you later, and nothing they said, yeah. And I think if we could implement, once you've got all these other keys leading up to that in place, and you can be in a position where you can help your parents and have a more community-driven life instead of these isolated box lives. I think it's sad, really. Like, I know not everyone gets on with their parents. Fair enough.
Yeah. You can create that family system with friends, with other
Yeah.
people in your community. Yeah.
But also, there's definitely, I've witnessed a lot of communes in my time where it just turns into a bit weird. I don't think people that, well, obviously your immediate family usually all share the same kind of belief system. Maybe not exactly, but you're all on a pretty much the same page. Whereas when you get these communes of people all sort of banding together, unless they have some sort of overarching, morally driven, sometimes religious or spiritual belief that's really driven home, usually, from what I've witnessed, they turn into a very, what's the word I'm looking for? Dick waving contest, basically. So the alpha males all contest, and then it turns into a bit of a polygamist sort of funfair, and it all just falls apart. It all goes well weird, like Willy Wednesdays. But I think if you have groups of people that live on a similar vibe, and you live in a close enough proximity that you can then be in contact with people, that seems to be more efficient than a load of like people knocking about not doing anything.
Or even aside from that, it's just family time as well, isn't it? How many people sit and eat their dinner in front of the TV, or not around a table,
Exactly.
or on their phones? It's so important, I think, especially for children, to have that, I don't know, that time, I guess.
Yeah, I don't know what the percentage would be, but I've kind of made an effort since I was about. It wasn't until I moved in with Oscar and Dan and Finton. We just made a conscious decision that we just eat all our our dinner at a dinner table.
Yeah.
No phones. Like there's 4 of us sat at a table. I've pretty much lived by that since I was like 22, and I don't think I don't like eating in front of TV. I don't like sitting on a sofa. I like sat at a table. Bless up the food.
Yeah.
Have 5 minutes at your phone. Have a conversation. I think, like you said, that's super important.
Yeah.
Mm.
And key
number 8
8.
is probably the biggest one, really. And the way I was thinking about it the other day is at the end, because if you ignore this one, you're not going back to the first one again.
Yeah.
You can put all this energy into these, but if you don't take heed of key number 8, which is restoration, that gives you all the power to keep going back round the keys.
Yeah.
So we're talking sleep hygiene. We're talking grounding. We're talking real rest and recovery.
Yeah.
And sleep. I think it's something Paul Check said, but he said I think he quoted someone, I can't remember now, but if what you got from sleep was a product that was in a can or something, like a can of sleep, it would be sold out, because what you get from sleep is just so good. So yeah.
Sleep, and then also in this key, it's kind of finding things that bring joy, love.
Oh, that's true. Yeah.
Like connecting to nature, just filling up your cup again, I guess, isn't it?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for me, I mean, laughter is such a big part of my core values. I think if I don't have a good chuckle in a while, that doesn't, even if I'm fulfilling all my like micro goals and achieving it, if I haven't had a laugh in a while, it doesn't bode well for me.
No.
But trying to be like some serious person online all the time, it's not me at the end of the day. I think I had without going into too much detail, I had a profound experience when I was 23, and the moral of it was that laughter, for me anyway, is the most powerful form of currency. I think it just makes life so much better.
100%.
So much better. So yeah, spread love, not margarine. That's why I would.
Yeah, I like that. So I got the 8 keys.
That's the 8 keys. Yeah, and I think
amazing.
It's set up in a way that even if you don't work with a coach who's trained to look at things that you might not even notice about yourself through good questionnaires and HAQ scores and all this kind of stuff, and going in with the somatics and all this, and like all the stuff that we've been trained to do, even if someone at home is, they're financially strapped, they just want to do it themselves, if they just look at what the headings are and listen to what we've just said, they could start looking into those things themselves and applying whichever one they're willing to start with. Because as you bolster each of them, everything starts to get healthier, everything starts to get easier. The less you'll be like, I don't actually want a beer.
Yeah. Or even go with the key that feels the most interesting or exciting.
Yeah.
And then that will help you get kind of going, because it will be interesting for you to learn about it and implement it.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Then see where it leads, like you say.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
So we've spoken about the keys and everything. Why does the world need Crystalline right now?
Well, why do I want to do it?
No, why does the world need it?
Oh, okay.
I feel like we spoke earlier of like the toxicity that's around and what the current state the world is in, really. Like, why is Crystalline gonna
I think
help?
It's kind of coming around at a perfect time, because what I'm observing is, obviously, you've got people like, America is obviously a big influence on the world, and you've got your Robert F. Kennedy Jr., who, I'll put money on it, does nothing that he says he's going to do, personally. No offense if you're really heavily invested in that, but I'm a gambling man, and I'll put $20 on it that none of the things he says will happen. But the point of it, which I was thinking this today, regardless of whether he does or not, enough people heard him, at least with the catchphrase of "Make America Healthy Again," talking about raw milk, talking about these other things. The fact that it's been in the mainstream conversation, there's people that we speak to online that are like, oh yeah, everyone's going to be healthier. Da, da, da. Whether or not he actually has anything to do with that is great, because now it's being normalized.
Yeah.
People that were like into their health 20, 30 years ago, you were like seen as a bit of an outcast. You don't want food fried in oils? And now it's like, yeah, I don't want food fried in oils. People are like, oh yeah, seed oils aren't the ideal thing. So I think there is a general trend at the moment, people wanting to be healthier. I mean, the rate of disease, we're the sickest we've ever been, basically, as a population.
Mm.
And I heard a quote the other day, and I thought it was fantastic. It was like, Western medicine is great if you don't want to die. Eastern medicine is great if you want to live. So, Western medicine, you break your leg in a car accident, best possible system.
Yeah.
Herbs at that point ain't gonna do shit. You're gonna need to fix your leg. But what Western medicine can't address is all these chronic diseases that are caused essentially by lifestyle. Whereas the Eastern mindset of preventative, in old days China, everyone in the town would pay the doctor, and when someone was ill, everyone would stop paying him until that person was healthy again. So it was his job to make sure everyone was healthy all the time. So it's a different kind of mindset, and an ounce of preventative measures is like worth more than any amount of trying to fix it once it's too late.
I think that's where so many people maybe slip up, is we wait until we need the cure, or we need something because we're feeling so ill or not able to carry on, and then we're like, oh shit, we need something.
Yeah.
Instead of just being the most healthiest version of yourself,
Mm-hmm.
and then you hopefully won't need.
Yeah, and your body's
That
always
would be-
telling you as well, you get these things that you think, oh, I'm unwell. It's like, it's a symptom. Your body's like, hey,
Yeah.
hey, buddy. Hey.
Listen to me.
Yeah. So, yeah, don't wait till it's too late. 'Cause it just takes way longer. It's just way less fun. You might as well start now.
Yeah. Well, you've got the energy, I guess, to do it.
Yeah. It's just clean it out now, because the system is profiting off you being the sickest version of yourself. And you don't need that.
Yeah. It's kind of sad, isn't it? That
It
that's the
is.
reality that we live in.
But I think COVID definitely played a big part in shaking the thing up. So many people that were, what's the word, invested in the allopathic mindset.
Mm.
Plenty of them still are. But there was a lot of people who would have been on that side of the fence if there was a Eastern and Western outlook on things, if you want to have that kind of way of putting it. But there was a lot of people that thought anything that wasn't oil-based, petroleum-based medicine was woo-woo. I think a lot of people who were disenfranchised, affected, knew someone that was badly injured during that process, during that fucking bizarre time. I think it backfired on the people that definitely didn't orchestrate it. I think it backfired in the fact that a lot of people started waking up to hang on a minute, this doesn't make any logical sense. And all these years later, I know people now that are like really interested in wanting to get healthier, whereas before that, probably didn't care. So I think it's good things are coming. Watch less TV.
Yeah.
And actually, things are not too bad, really.
Yeah. I like that. Less TV, less media. Focus on yourself.
Yeah, just focus on what you can do and helping yourself. And it's good to have morals where you help other people, but it's like they say when you're on an airplane, when if you got a kid or something, it's like first put your oxygen mask on, and then put on baby Neil.
Yeah. Well, if you're drained and have no energy and not looking after yourself, then
How can you? It's good to have these virtuous qualities, but if you're not helping yourself first, then you're just given you won't be able to help everyone else. So yeah, I feel pretty strongly about that.
Mm-hmm. So if you had one message for the listeners today,
One message.
that they can take away from this conversation
To what?
to make themselves feel healthier, maybe. One message, or maybe one thing they could implement in their life right now.
I would say one thing is having an open mind.
Mm.
Once you make the decision, I want to get healthier, have an open mind, look at the research, look at what's been tried and tested for the longest period of time. What moves the needle the most? Well, it's way more than one thing. But yeah, clean yourself, basically. Clean yourself, clean your environment. I can't distill it down to one thing. I could distill it down to 8 things for you.
The 8 keys. Look at the 8 keys. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good starting point.
Cool.
Just have a look at that and at least look at all the subheadings. On our website, there's like a breakdown of it if you forget, or you can listen to this bit again. But yeah, that's what I'd say. I couldn't distill
Open
it.
mind as well. I like that.
Yeah, open mind.
Open mind. Be curious.
Because they say this to bloody doctors when they go to university. When they're studying, they tell them 60% of what we're training you in now will turn out to be wrong. But the problem is we don't know what that is.
Yeah.
So many medicines have come, they've done double-blind studies on a medicine, fine, pushed it out, people have died, and they've had to recall it. But what I'm saying is people who have been breathing for a long time, there's no financial incentive behind that. People have been drinking water. People are trying to monopolize water because it's so important. But these kind of things have been around and will always be around. There's no fad here.
Yeah.
They're fundamentals. So yeah, that's what I would say.
Cool. And just before we finish then, I'd like to hear maybe just like how much your life has changed on this path of, yeah, I guess implementing the 8 keys for yourself.
I would say I've wasted a lot of time. I'd say I've wasted a lot of time growing up, falling down loads of plot twists. But it's one thing that I've always been learning, and it's kept me going. And then I had some big aha moments, and then pieced it all together into what I think is a very succinct way that I'm quite proud of. Yeah, you're just gonna feel better. I just feel amazing, and I don't feel as drawn to the plot holes as I've fallen down before. But my goal is to basically help people that have either neglected it their whole life and they're starting to feel the problems, or people that are just starting out on this journey. I can save them loads of time because, yeah, like I say, I feel like I wasted a lot of time, but my past is my wisdom.
Yeah.
And I'm neither proud nor disappointed in it. It just is.
Yeah.
I'm here now, and I feel this has always been my destiny to help as many people become the healthiest, most potent versions of themselves.
Yeah.
And nothing brings me more joy than when I get an email or a text from someone that I gave advice to months or years ago, and they're like, "Oh, thanks for doing because now my thing's gone and
Yeah.
And I'm just like, that's why I want to live, just to see other people thriving.
Well, the world would be a better place, won't it, when we're all
Yeah.
living in this way, kind of.
Well, the thing I always ponder on is like, at the end of the day, this kind of shit really is just, it's a big thing at the moment because a lot of us are sick. But my thing that I'm more interested in is what we can achieve as a load of healthy people the next day. This is like, we just got to sort the start out. This is like the foundation.
Yeah.
Once we've sorted our health out as a group of conscious people, fucking hell, what can we achieve then? The world literally will be our oyster, and we will eat it.
I like that.
Yeah.
I feel like that's a good place to end the conversation.
Alrighty. I'll like the Palo Santos. Palo Santo. There you go. That's pretty sacred, isn't it? Sacred podcast.